Welcome to the Church of Mabus radio show. It's Friday night, 7 p.m. Central. Listen to United Public Radio, 107.7 FM New Orleans. We got Wham here with us.
Hey, how you doing?
And tonight's guest, we're seeing if he's going to show up. Mark NeCamp, Energy Magic, a basic and advanced guide for witches and pagans. I'm waiting to see where he is. Hopefully he pops up. We'll see what happens. Maybe a time zone issue. We had the Halloween lineup. The Doors show canceled, which was very annoying, but had Nicolene Albrecht from the Netherlands sit in, who painted strange paintings of demonic beings and things like that, from Belial to all sorts of weird ones. But that was a crazy show. She's very articulate, and it was a weird one for sure. And then, like I said before, it reminded me of Late Night with the Devil, this new horror movie where the guy's like a 70s talk show host and somebody comes on possessed, and then at the end, like, the devil really shows up and everybody croaks. But that was a recent one. The 70s vibe in that movie is well done. They have like commercials and it feels like a talk show. And then it's the guy from Dave Dalshima. I always have trouble with his last name, but he was in the newest Suicide Squad, and Dave Dalshiman or something. It's hard. That last name's hard for me to pronounce, but he's in a bunch of stuff. He's also doing some Kolchak comics that are coming out that are on Kickstarter right now with the Universal Monsters and Kolchak, like a graphic novel that he's helping to write. That's on Kickstarter. But anywho, and then the next show was Dara Mason, which had just been interviewed by Whitley Strieber, and his show was a Song of the Dark Man, Father of the Crossroads, Lord of Witches, or whatever. I probably messed some of that up. But he basically was this dark man figure who's been around forever. That's, I guess, a lot of people stereotype him as the devil or say he's the devil. And on some levels, I guess it is. And it's tricksterish. And that basically it's what will initiate you into witchcraft. So I don't know if you've ever seen The Witch, where the black Philip, the goat, and the Protestant, like whatever the hell they are, like they're not Amish, but they're like Protestant or something. This thing just like afflicts their whole household, and it's really creepy. It's the guy that's about to do the new Nosferatu, did the Witch movie. But basically, there's crazy witch stuff in that movie, but basically it's about this dark figure initiating you into witchcraft, and it's in your face, and it's a lot of folklore from Scottish and Irish and all kinds of stuff. So that was a good show, definitely a lineup. And then tonight, I don't know if there's a time zone issue, but the next show is Ellen Everett Hopman, which is a Celtic and Druidry tradition. And then, gosh, I've already forgot who the next person is. I was just looking at it too. It's just my memory lately. Let's see. Next is Ricardo Delgado, a fellow that does a lot of tarot and comics with Dracula and Transylvania. He's like a comic book artist, and he's put out a lot of different Dracula things, like a Dracula tarot, a Transylvania, a lot of art about that. So we'll be getting into that. So that'll be a good one. And then Christina is supposed to come on the 22nd. And then November 29th, Ronald Murphy from Small Town Monsters, a book about phantom lights and stuff. And then December 6th, Wade Richardson, Psychedelics. December 13th is Victor Baines. That's when you'll be back. He's Nostradamus. I talked to him on the phone. Definitely a character. It'll be an interesting interview for sure. Had a UFO experience and felt like he was doing some telepathy, but he has a whole like book on Nostradamus, and it's like Nostradamus of America. It's like the name of the organization. And then December 20th will be our last show. I'm still working on that. And then probably just take a few weeks off. After December 20th, the next 2 weeks I'm trying to get off for there won't be a show on the 27th, there won't be a show on the 3rd, and then come back on the 10th. That's what I'm working with. Hopefully that'll pan out. Shouldn't be a problem. But sometimes I gotta take a break from this stuff and not do it. Mostly the Friday thing. Like I'm not even someone that really goes out a lot on Friday anyway, but you get like I don't know, just sometimes you'd like to have a Friday off sometimes once in a while. Not even to go anywhere. It just gets into a weird, I don't know, a time loop that you need to break sometimes, and it's good. Like even Joe has said, it's good to take time off and refuel. But wow, God, everything's crazy. Let's check Facebook. We're about to have the election apocalypse.
Yep.
That's here.
Yep. It's almost here.
Hopefully, no nukes or craziness happens or anything. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, I don't know. I just know I see a lot of the right wing stuff, and it's terrifying. And it's like a horror movie having to read it every day.
Yeah.
Like it really is.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. I mean, what's weird for me is that I do a lot of I get stuff from all kinds of different sources, and it's all saying different stuff at different times. So I begin to wonder whether just the confusion itself is a psyop. And at some point, it's not that I don't care. It's just that because I'm not registered as a Democrat or a Republican, and somehow various groups have gotten my phone number. My phone is just blowing up, like from Republicans and Democrats both, to give them money. It's so bizarre. I don't even know where they got my phone number, but
I mean, I don't really keep up with it except for titles that I have to see for various reasons of assortment of reasons. And then my mom's a Democrat, so I have to walk by her TV and she plays it in the kitchen, plays it in her room, and you're like, ah, it's
yeah,
like MSNBC. I mean, I don't mind it sometimes, but it's like, God, it's in the kitchen. But they're basically just calling Trump Hitler now on there, like basically.
yeah.
Weird. It's weird, but I see all this stuff that's going on. It's kind of like he is bringing that fantasy to all his right wing constituents, even if they don't believe it or not. But the headlines that I see and stuff, like I see all these right wing personalities, and it's just weird. And it's mixed with that Q stuff. It's just bizarre. I also get to see all the Diddy stuff, like even some of it's like funny titles that they lie and put it up and then just put the title, and then you look at the video and there's stuff about him and he's a creep and everything, but the thing they're specifically saying, like Diddy made an Oprah tape, isn't in the video at all. So
I know. The clickbait is sometimes really bizarre. It's like the clickbait will say exactly the opposite of what the content is. It's very strange.
yeah,
It's very strange. It's very, very strange.
and apparently there's not to get into this too heavily, what I share a lot of video content and a lot of it is right wing leaning, though I do a lot of paranormal stuff. And I originally started doing paranormal stuff there, but then it turned very political. And to survive there, I had to provide that content. And it sucks on a lot of levels just having to see it. And
Right.
most of the people that you are dealing it to are people that believe it anyway. You're not really turning someone to the tide of it. It's already someone there that's a diehard, whatever the hell it is.
Right.
I'm still psychologically trying to understand it. But anyway, apparently now I don't want to get into this too heavily. There's people in other countries who put this content up on Rumble, and they somehow run like 10 channels and they keep them going and they're making income from it. And it's this political stuff. And somehow some of them contacted me and wanted to pay me to put up from their channels.
How bizarre.
And so I basically did it on some level because it was the stuff I was sharing anyway. I just shared it from their channels, and it's not much, $200 to $400 extra. It's extra, it's something, but it's weird because I'm watching it from a psychological standpoint of already doing this weird ass job and having to see this shit every day. But now there's like other people in other countries that run like these like 10 channels, and it revolves around Trump and this SG Anon, like all these weird personalities that they worship. Like there's one called SG Anon, there's Michael Jaco, there's Benjamin Fulford. Like there's all these this, I don't know, it's like idols, I guess, that they listen to. And these Vietnamese people share it too and make money off of it. And they probably, do they even care about it at all? Probably not.
I have no idea. That sounds
And
very
it's
interesting.
almost like the Vietnamese mafia or something that I got caught up in there for a minute. But they pay better than white people. All the white people is us who rip me off. Like I'm not going to get into names, but work with that and everything. These people at least are honorable and actually pay you. So the white folks I know are like, we're gonna pay you, and then we never do ever. That's what I deal with like 10 grand owed to me from my job right now for bonuses that I'm supposed to have that I'll probably never see ever. So, but it's just weird stuff I get caught up in, of course. But I don't know what the hell is going to happen. What do you think is going to happen? No one knows.
I don't know. I mean, I think that, I guess I feel it's not really thinking, it's more feeling. I feel like regardless of who wins, number one, we're not going to know immediately because it's too close. And number two, it's going to be chaos either way. It's just going to be chaos. I don't know what type of chaos. And I also get the feeling that something else is going to happen. And I don't really know what I mean by that. It's just, the first in 2016, everybody thought that Hillary was going to win, right? So, but I had this terrible feeling of dread leading up to the election. So I think on some level I kind of knew that she wasn't going to. And this time I don't feel dread. I feel it's more like a kind of weird, it sounds really weird. It's like a weird euphoria. It's the only thing that it's similar to is it's similar to the what I felt in in January and February of 2020, when there was, when the pandemic was not yet here, I mean, that we knew of, and we were seeing it sort of in other parts of the world, and it was, slowly it was making its way here, and but a lot of people were really in denial about it. But I just knew that it was going to come here and raise havoc, and it was going to disrupt a whole lot of stuff. And so that's sort of how I feel, actually. I feel like that there's going to be no matter what happens, it's not that it doesn't matter who becomes president, but there are so many other things in play.
Yeah.
That that whatever happens is going to, whoever takes it, whatever they attempt to do, the whole thing's going to be overwhelmed by something else. And so I mean, that's just a feeling that I have, I mean, and just little things like finding out this, I haven't been able to pay, I've been working a lot, so I haven't been able to pay a lot of attention to other certain details in the news, but just finding out, for example, that North Korea has sent 8,000 soldiers to the Ukraine. Russia has made a deal with North Korea, and they're sending for Russia, Ukraine.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's crazy.
Bizarre. I mean, it tells me desperate Putin. He's willing, just use these North Koreans as fodder. But in response to that, South Korea has offered a whole bunch of military stuff to. It's like it's becoming a world really quick, you know. And then there's what's going on in the middle. You know, don't even get me. And any situations could get out of hand, and sort of what I feel is that something else is going to happen. And if you remember that conversation we had way back in May, where what is that guy's name who did the Nostradamus stuff and has basically basically declared Trump to be the Antichrist. And I was talking then about how I'd had this dream that Trump had died. And I still feel like that could happen. Like there was no time frame on the dream. The dream wasn't about, whether he died before he got into office or after he got into office or something. So, all of that could still happen, I mean, he could become president and then croak, and then we would be left with, whatever the hell Vance is,
Couch effer.
Yeah, I know. It's like, who the hell is this guy? What a weirdo. I mean,
apparently there's a movie about him called The Hillbilly Elegy or something like that.
Yeah, well, it's based on his book. Yeah,
I've never seen that.
It's based on his book, which apparently, according to, I mean, and this is what's so funny. It's like, I guess he had a difficult, childhood and everything, like so many of us actually. Lots of us had difficult childhoods and did not become, pathological liars. But, the fact is that, he's never worked an honest day in his life as an adult. He's had everything handed to him by, oddly enough, this rich gay guy, Peter Thiel. It's just so bizarre.
Ron Howard did that movie. I couldn't believe that. Ron Howard, Opie.
Oh, you mean did the Hillbilly Elegy movie?
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's weird. I've never seen it. I don't know if I want to, but yeah, that's strange that he did it. But it has horrible reviews. It has like a 24 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh yeah.
But
so tell me, do you know anything about the Paracast, the Paracast network?
Yes, I do. I don't know a lot about it right now, but that was a show that got us in a lot of trouble that went back to David Biedny. I don't know if you're familiar with that name at all. A guy named David Biedny.
Okay. I don't.
Basically, well, why are they asking you to come on or something?
Yeah, they are. That's why I'm asking.
You probably want to know this then. I don't know. I mean, if they know you're on this show, you want to know this, because I don't know them enough to judge them at all right now. But that show, David Biedny was Gene Steinberg's co-host.
Okay.
And he was very popular with Jeremy Vianney. They were friends and then had a fallout, like in that little, jerk me off club with all that crap, and Jeff Ritzman and all that stuff. He was well known, and he was known for going after people and being a dick, and people loved it and all that kind of stuff. David Biedny. Well, anyway, when I first started doing the show, I used to work with Jeremy Vianney doing those little chat interviews and stuff. Right. Somehow, and me and Jeremy had a fallout, and it got weird where Jeff Ritzman and Jeremy wanted to buy my Mabus and pay me and have it merge and call it Paratopia. I had receipts. I mean, not receipts, but I had like proof of it put up in forums and stuff. It was crazy weird. But anyway, me and them all had a fallout. But anyway, for some reason, when I first started doing the show with Guy Weddle, who was also kind of a David Biedney asshole, loudmouth, that's why I fired him, because he was like abusive to me even. Like, so I was like, no, this ain't going to work out. You answered my help wanted little thing. Like, he's like, it was my show. We got in a big fight. It was my show. But I try to say it's our show with everybody. But him, he was just like David Biedney, like this asshole. Like, you know, always a confrontation, always the ego. And then tell, you know, like apparently someone named Jim Sparks came on the show that's a UFO abductee. And somehow with David Biedney, Jim didn't answer the question correctly about did he go to the restroom while he was being abducted. And somehow David used it to just rip this dude to pieces. And, but anyway, somehow David Biedney came to me to be on the show when he quit Paracast. And I didn't even know David Biedney. Like, I didn't know him at all. Like, it was a weird, shocking, weird thing that was just very weird. And he came to me, did that show. It's on YouTube. It's called Church of Mabus, David Biedney, Sympathy for the Devil. And it's one of our famous shows. There's a bunch of people talking about it. Oh, I finally found it and shit like that. And anyway, he tore Gene Steinberg's ass out about being a con man and a lot of money stuff and financial stuff and a big falling out. It was just nasty. And Gene, you know, seemed kind of like a dickhead too. They both seem like dickheads. But a lot of people in this field, I'm sure some people think I'm a dickhead. But anyway, that was the show that went after Gene Steinberg. And so I'm sure, you know, I don't talk to them anymore. I don't talk about Gene Steinberg. I don't know what they're doing. They may not be thinking about it at all. You know, they may not even know or not even care so much that it's been so long ago. But that was the weird show. That's that history on that one.
Now, when you say they ripped people new assholes, what does that mean? I mean, they do that on the show, or did they like do that in print?
David was known for going after them and just being, you know, belligerent and going after them. You know, that's what he kind of, it was guys like Idol, you know, my Guy Weddle kind of like modeled himself after that, just going after people for the hell of going after it. Maybe some of them deserved it, maybe some of them didn't. I don't know, but it was just, I don't do it. I mean, there's been times I've been pissed off and gone after people, but I don't go after every guest like I'm going to strangle them for the truth. Every person that gets on the stage, you know, that's kind of how David Biedney was. But he basically, a lot of financial stuff, and they had a fallout and he got into it. I don't remember a lot of it. It's on YouTube under Church of Mabus, David Biedney, Sympathy for the Devil. But a lot of crazy business craziness that made Gene look very bad. With money and ripping people off and just stuff like that. But it got crazy. It was definitely crazy. The weirdest part was I didn't know David at all. I was surprised that he came to me at all to do it. And of course I was like, okay, well, let's do it. It'll get us attention. And I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. Like, that's the truth of that one.
Yeah. Well,
but they may not give a flying flip about that. I doubt that's why they're having you on. That's for sure.
Well, it was kind of out of the blue, and yeah. I was just curious. I mean, I don't know where they got my name. I mean, when I look at it right now, it's like Gene is still there, and Tim is there, Tim Schwartz, and then there's a guy named Kurt Collins, and then there's a guy named Bob Zanotti. Which that name sounds somewhat familiar.
Just do it and don't bring it up at all unless they do, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and if they do, I'll just say, listen, that was before my time. I actually don't know about it. I mean, other than what you've told me, but you've only just told me, you know, I don't know like the basically people had fallings out. I mean, what the details of that falling out
All those
was, I
dudes
don't
are
have
so
any clue.
old. All those dudes are so old, they probably don't even think about it. Like, it probably not even, it would surprise me if they even brought it up. Like, they probably
Right.
have like dementia and shit. Like, I don't know.
I mean, they look like regular older guys from what I can tell,
Yeah.
you
It's a
know,
good show to do, though. You should do it if you can. I mean, it's probably a
no,
lot of attention. It's a pretty big, well-known show.
well, that's fine. I mean, as long as they don't treat me bad, I don't really care. Yeah,
I
it's
don't think
just,
they will. I don't think they will, but I wonder where they heard about you from. That's what I would wonder.
yeah, that is a curiosity to me too. Well, it was interesting too, because in having an exchange with them, they kind of made it sound like they wanted it to be sort of an open-ended kind of thing. And I don't really, I'm getting to the point where if someone's interviewing me, I don't really want it to be open-ended, because I I guess in my brain isn't working very well right now, and so I feel like I do a lot better if I'm focused, people asking me questions specifically, and then I can answer those questions, you know what I mean? And so I said, well, when they approached me, I said, well, here's the thing. This is what I prefer. If you want me to talk about my books, then I would like you guys to be familiar with them, because it's kind of difficult for me to talk about books with people who aren't familiar with them. And so, I sent them PDFs of the books, because they knew that I had written a couple things, on my website, but they had not read them. So it's like, you need to avail yourself of whoever you think I am before, you know, before, before we talk. Um, and I don't know, did you know that I posted this on Facebook, but did you know that a couple weeks ago, I was interviewed by a guy who is a reporter for a local public radio station in LA, in the LA market. And he did, I think it was probably for Halloween, but he did a little short 5-minute snippet based on, his research. And then he interviewed me and like 2 other people, and about the Tayunga Canyon contacts and abductions. And,
Uh-huh.
and he put together like a 5-minute snippet, a 5-minute like feature, and it was picked up by NPR in Los Angeles. And apparently like all last week was like at number 1. So
Wow.
maybe that's where they heard my name, I mean, because I mean, depending on what markets they're paying attention to. But anyway,
That's a trip for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I mean, I posted the link. It's only like about 5 minutes long or something. And actually, that was a really nice little talk. He and I talked for about 30 minutes, and he basically just took a few things from what I said, and put them into the story. But it was. Oh, and it might be actually that one of the things that he one of the things that he said was, or one of the things he asked me was, one of the questions was about the Tayunga Canyon case. And this is journalists for you too. Is I is he asked why he asked me why I thought that the Tayunga Canyon contacts aren't as well known as other abduction cases, particularly because they're an early case. They are an early investigated set of cases. You know what I mean? And and I actually gave him several answers for that. That there were probably several reasons why this was the case. Including how um, once Bud Hopkins kind of put his thing out there. Um, that kind of developed a kind of narrative about what abduction should look like or not look like. And the fact is that these abduction cases, the Tioga Canyon cases, really don't follow that paradigm. And the fact that of the 4 or 5 women that were involved over the years in these contacts, 3 of them developed techniques to cause the phenomenon to stop. They were actually able to get the phenomenon to cease, which that goes against the common narrative that, you're powerless before whatever this is. You know what I mean? And I said, and another factor, I think, actually, if you look at like when it was published at the time, and and subsequently, is that all of the women who were involved in these contacts were members of the LGBTQ community. And that is made very, that acronym didn't exist in 1980 when the book was published, but Anne Druffel makes it very clear that who these women were. I mean, she uses different language, and she's actually pretty sensitive about it, because even at that time in 1980, you have to remember that's when AIDS was first beginning to spread. It would have been suicide to out these women too much. You know what I mean? So she's actually really careful about it, and I think pretty sensitive about it, especially for the time. But I do think, I said, this was one of the reasons. I said because in some ways it's kind of a queer story. All of these women are involved with each other in various ways, and so they're obviously part of a community. They know each other. Even when like 2 of the women break up, they will remain friends with everybody else because they're part of a community. And that's kind of what happens with women in particular in specific queer communities. And I said, and there's a huge chunk of the UFO community in particular that is very right wing, and they don't really like to deal with this. They're very uncomfortable with this. And that's something that I said, and that's something that he used actually in the little 5-minute thing. So maybe that triggered their interest or something. They're going to yell at me about that. But the truth is that that's only one thing that I said. It's just that's the thing that he used. You have to be careful about journalists, because they will cut and paste your words and make it sound like you're saying things that are stronger than they actually are.
A lot of them do suck Trump butt, though. That's like,
They
probably do. They probably do.
A lot. You mean a lot of UFO people are right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, I know that.
They probably are too.
They may well be.
Would not surprise me. That's like it might be a Nazi den. I don't know. I would ask them where they heard about you from. Try to find out. Make sure you're not getting into a hot seat situation.
Well, if I am, I am. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I mean, I've had some really hostile interviews in my life, not about stuff like this, but in other ways. I've had some real.
Yeah.
So, it's like, I mean, it's recorded, so it's not done live. So I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about this going out live, and they still use Skype.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, just for the audio, it's just an audio thing. They still use Skype. And I'm like, and they were like, well, it's because it's free. And it's like, well, I could send you a Zoom link and record it and give it to you. I mean, it's like, okay, whatever you want to do.
I muted it and said, "Where the hell did our Reese's go?"
Reese's run.
Well, you should do it, but just I would try to figure out what they're up to. I mean, I don't know. They may not be up to nothing, but where did they learn about you? That's not a bad question to ask.
No, it's not a bad question at all. It's not a bad question.
They probably say, "Oh, you're on the Church of Mabus. That guy's crazy."
And I'll be like, yeah, Jeffrey is crazy, and your point is.
Let's embrace the crazy instead of just the weird.
It's like, and your point is, did you guys have any trick-or-treaters?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have them at our actual house because it's kind of way back, but our neighborhood was filled with trick-or-treaters. It was the weirdest thing because I haven't seen them here ever.
And I got him out the house for a walk down the street.
A lot of them. I was shocked.
Oh man,
it was crazy.
So the guest did not sadly come home.
I think it was a lot of people trying to take their kids to the yuppie neighborhood, which this house in particular is not really the yuppie. It's a guest house behind a yuppie house that they're still kind of, it's my mother's relatives live in that house. We live back here.
We're in the house.
But apparently it's kind of a yuppie neighborhood. So all these people are like bringing their kids here to nab the big things. But I bet a lot of people here were shocked and may have not had anything. I'm sure some of them did, but some of them were like, "What the hell, a trick-or-treater? I haven't had candy since 1982. So it was weird. These Reese's are dangerous.
What are they regular Reese's?
There's white. There's a variety pack with a little bit of everything. This is the white ones, but there's chocolate. There's all kinds of stuff.
I have to keep them with me, or he has no off switch, and then he'll complain because he gets sick. So
I eat them. I like them.
Anyway,
they're good. This is the what is it? White chocolate. Yeah.
Yeah, white chocolate isn't really chocolate.
What is it then?
Well, it's got some cocoa butter in it, but it's basically cocoa butter and paraffin and sugar. I mean, it's basically like something. It's a made up product.
Wow, I
it's
didn't
a
know
laxative.
Well, it can be that too. Yeah, it's
a naughty nurse over here. Hi, everyone. Hi, Wham. Oh Lord.
But
absurd.
Here it is. I'm actually going to look this up and tell you. Yeah, it does have cocoa butter in it, and sugar and milk, but it does not contain cocoa solids. And
one more.
It's got milk solids and a whole bunch of other stuff. It was just like made up. It was made up. I think originally like to use it as decoration.
I'm hiding this.
Yeah.
Which
I didn't know that.
And now people just eat it, because it's cheap.
I didn't know. I thought it was like really chocolate of some kind.
Yeah.
What do I know?
Well, people know all kind. People think all kinds of things.
All right, that's my last one.
I had to hide it.
My mom made banana pudding. It's like banana pudding, pizza from Hungry Howie's, and stomach aches galore. I don't guess this dude's coming. My God, what the hell's going on? Bro, where is you? You ain't here, that's for sure.
He ain't here. I mean, we should talk about his book anyway.
Yeah, he may show up at the second hour or something. Maybe he just had time wrong.
Well, the second hour's coming.
I know he may not. I don't think he's going to show up at all. Something's weird. But his book's Energy Magic. Seems interesting. Lately, energy's felt like crap. Like just like a drained, crappy. I don't know. Just don't feel good. It feels like you're. I don't know. I know they're pumping up. The deep state is going to do this and this to give Kamala reign, so she has to stay in office, and the election's not going to happen. They're going to do something. That, of course, it'll be the other side that probably really does something.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you know, Democrats are too timid to actually do. There, I mean, there are other leftists. You know, true Democrats are not leftists for one thing. I mean, they're just not. They're too centrist for that. Um,
Who knows?
okay.
But just a, I don't know. Hopefully, nothing's going to happen, and that's not what we're feeling. Is something happening? That's what concerns me. I guess you feel the
Yeah.
weird, and it's
Yeah.
actually something bad happening.
Well, you know, we have a big country, and lots of bad things could happen in different places, but not right around where you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the things could happen in individual places. Um, like it's hard for me to imagine, like in my neighborhood. Of course, I'm in New York, and so this doesn't represent other parts of the country. I'm in a semi-rural part of New York, and there are, I would say that the Harris Waltz signs outnumber the Trump signs by 2 to 1, maybe 3 to 1. You know, like right where I'm at in the areas that I'm at. But there are some, I mean, there are some Trump people, but most people don't have signs up. Of course, that's true of New York most of the time. You know, usually it's only the diehard people who have actual signs up of any type. And it's hard for me to really believe that regardless of what happens, you know, like I'm pretty sure that our neighbors immediately to the south are probably Trumpsters, or you know that they'll vote for him. I don't know whether they're MAGA, you know what I mean, but they'll probably vote for him. But they don't have signs up. This is just based on my experience of them, you know, and the things that they talk about, the things that I've overheard them talk about. Um,
I
but
would. Yeah.
but
I'll
I
go
don't.
ahead.
But if Trump wins, I don't think they're like going to attack us or anything. You know, it's
Um,
like I'm not afraid of them. We don't have Harris Waltz signs up because we don't put signs up, and I'm not a real fan of her anyway. You know, it's
yeah. There's a lot of it's weird down here with weed right now. You know, we have medicinal already where you get the card and it's expensive, blah 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 to keep it up. But they're doing the to legalize it completely on this ballot, like completely. And it's so weird because there are people in this neighborhood, even in the neighborhoods around here, that are voting vote 3, and it's for it legalizing. The weirdest thing that's so weird is there's like police and shit on TV telling you to vote for it, and that's sheriffs, and they're pro wanting it legalized. So it's really weird, like the Twilight Zone episode, that you're seeing police telling you to vote yes for it, so it'll be legalized. I think there may be some that are saying don't vote for it, and they run their little ad too. But it's still weird. I walk by the TV and there's a cop saying vote for legalized marijuana so we can free up our time to do other things. And that was really weird. Like, just seemed weird. But I hope it passes, even though they're going to tax it if you don't have a card. But the card's a pain in the ass. Like, you have to pay what, 300 twice a year or something, or more. 400. How much? 500 a year twice. It's weird. It's expensive. Big expensive pain in the ass. And then once it gets legalized, is it going to be hard to get because so many people are going to be buying the crap out of it and they're not going to have enough? Like that, I've heard that happens in states. Then they get too much and the price shoots down. But let's see what's going on. Let's see if this dude. I'm going to be changing the title soon, I guess. So he ain't saying nothing. Nothing. Yeah, we'll see. Give it a few more minutes and I'll change the title. Been watching anything interesting? You?
no, I haven't had chance to watch anything, honestly. I really haven't. I I work, and then I come home, or I come home and then I go to the gym, and then I eat dinner, and then I go to bed. And that's pretty much, I mean, that's why, for people who follow me at all, that's why I haven't done a blog for literally almost 6 months. This weekend, I finally might have a little time to put a small one together, but it's like, I just haven't had the energy, and I've been kind of depressed. I've been dealing with some stuff, emotional stuff. And I just, all I've been doing is watching old Star Trek. That's all I've been doing, I'm afraid. I just noticed that Netflix has a season 5 up, and I didn't even realize it. I mean, a season 5 of Unsolved Mysteries up, and I just didn't even realize it.
Yeah, they seem to be pumping those out a lot, which is good. We've been watching some weird ones. We watched a show that we're still watching, Hysteria. It's about the 80s, and it's like the Satanic Panic, and it has Bruce Campbell. It's kind of like horror comedy, but there's like some paranormal stuff going on, but also like it's about the Satanic Panic. And it's pretty good, but nothing I would like watch again probably. But another weird one, Teacup, which is based on a Robert McCammon. He wrote Swan Song, but he wrote a book called Stinger, and he's a real good horror author that even like influenced Stephen King, Robert McCammon, and that show's based on his book, which I don't know if he's ever had anything on TV before, but it's on Peacock. It's called Teacup, and it's really weird. Seems like an alien comes down, and just weird, crazy government stuff, and it's crazy. It's like the X-Files on some kind of drug, like cocaine. But what else? That's it. Oh, Agatha All Along. That's some witch show. It's okay. There's like one episode left of that. We saw the new Joker. That was just oh god.
Yeah. I heard that Lady Gaga was really like the only thing that was decent in it at all, and that basically the rest of it's just like, what the hell is going on with this?
It was not. It was not. It was not easy to watch. A lot of singing. That was just. He's not the best.
It's like a musical.
And he's not the best singer, really. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix.
He's not a singer. Yeah, he's not a singer.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't really like it. And then the ending is the worst part of it all. It's just, I don't even know if I should say it. You're never going to watch it, are you?
I'm never going to watch it.
Basically, if you haven't seen it yet, spoiler alert, don't listen for about 2 minutes. Hold your ears. But basically, at the end, he's in jail, and a dude comes up to him and tells him a joke, stabs him, and then the dude sits down and carves his own face up that killed Joaquin Phoenix's character. So basically, they're, I guess, saying that that's the Joker. He was never the Joker at all. That it's just weird. Like, it doesn't.
How strange. That's very strange.
Couldn't have been. It's kind of like the Joker's a collective, like anonymous and like a spirit. But I guess that was the real Joker, and he was never. But I don't know. It was weird. It wasn't that great. The first one was better. I didn't love the first one. I mean, I thought it was okay. It was good. It wasn't bad. It was certainly better than the second one, but it just wasn't. Just felt off. It didn't seem like the Joker, which I guess it wasn't. So
yeah. Well, that's kind of what the consensus seems to be.
And I just don't. Seems like a wasted opportunity on a lot of levels. But I was more the Jack Nicholson. I like the Heath Ledger. I like the Mark Hamill one in the animated. He does a really good job. But the Joaquin Phoenix one was kind of wasn't as bad as the Jared Leto Suicide Squad ghetto Joker. That was from the rap Joker, hip hop version Joker. That was terrible. I can't even watch that hardly. But I don't understand it. But the weirdest thing about that movie, the guy who made it, Todd Phillips' Joker, He did this crazy documentary a long time ago that I saw called Gigi Allen Hate It. And it's about this crazy, it's a true story, and the dude's really in it, called Gigi Allen. He's like a punk dude, and they're on drugs. I think they sex acts on stage. It's not, I don't even like the music. Like, I would be scared to hang around Gigi Allen. He like eats his own poop, glass, cuts himself. I think he has like anal on stage with his bandmates. Like, it's the craziest damn thing you could ever see to make you sick. I don't even know if I'd watch it again now. I saw it once with friends, and he's some kind of punk icon. But that dude made a documentary about him that made the Joker movie. Kind of a weird trivia. But Gigi Allen's just like hate, like just all his music. Like one, I think it's like number one song is called "Hate." It's just like pure. It's almost like a demon on stage, which it seems like eating his own poop and stuff. Like they show it in the documentary. It's terrible. It's not anything I only seen it once. I don't know if I want to watch it. I'd be scared to watch it again.
Yes, I don't think I could watch that.
Yeah. But it was horrible. But somehow he's like a punk icon. Like we've talked about him before, and people in the chat start saying stuff good about him and stuff. You're like, what the hell's going on? But anywho, I don't think this dude's showing up, so I'm toasting titles in my head. Nothing out of this guy.
Toasting titles. Okay.
And I thought, let me see if I can do it. Have you read anything good? I'm going to try. What in the world is going on with it? I don't know if I can change the titles. Some of them. I guess you can't. But have you been reading anything good?
Well, I did I'm like I said, I'm going to try to do a short blog this, a short podcast thing this weekend, a book that I read, called, it's a book from the 1970s called Omens of Awareness by a guy named David Tansley. And, it was an interesting book. I can't remember exactly where I got the title for it, except that I know I was reading something that was published more recently, and they mentioned him. And I think it's because he's one of the first people to, other than maybe Jung, Carl Jung, to argue that what UFOs, he's talking about UFOs specifically, but what UFOs are is, and the fact that at least when he's writing in the middle 70s, 1970s, he's talking about how more people are seeing them than in the past. I don't know how true that is, but he didn't have, we didn't have mass media until the mid 20th century. So, of course it's going to seem like more people are seeing them. But he argues that the fact that they're appearing now is proof that human consciousness is changing in some way, because he argues that they've always been here, that they're more of an interdimensional phenomenon, that they've always been here, but human beings have not always been able to perceive them in the same way that we perceive them now. We've perceived them periodically, during times of great change. But this is what he means by omens of awareness, that, he's writing in the 70s. So he believes that human consciousness is evolving and changing and becoming something more positive. You read that now and you're like, no, we're not. Look where we're at. No, and if it is proof that we're, our consciousness is changing in some way, I mean, why does it have to be in a good way, But anyway, it's got some interesting things in it, because he was, Tansley is known in the holistic community as someone who wrote extensively on alternative energy healing, kind of like this dude here, that didn't show up for the interview. He's known for something that he developed, which is called radionics, which was very popular and is still known. He himself was a chiropractor, but he also practiced various kind of energy healing modalities. And so he's best known for his theories and practices of what he called radionics. And he published several books about that. But this is his only book about paranormal stuff. And apparently it was something that just interested him. So he wrote this book. But anyway, he does have some interesting historical things because, he apparently had collected these accounts, UFO accounts, from the early 50s on. And so and he also lived in the Tioga Canyon area at one time in his life. And so he has some interesting memories of things going on in Southern California during the same time period. And he apparently knew somebody who knew somebody that George Adamski talks about. So,
Okay.
So, he has some interesting stories that he's collected. So from a historical standpoint, the book has got some interesting tidbits here and there.
There was this guy that used to be in the Yahoo ET chat that was like obsessed with that Adamansky guy. That
Adamski?
Yeah, he was just like, that's all he would talk about. Like professionally, just George Adamansky in your face constantly, and just always about that dude. I think I may have some Andy reprint stuff of that from stuff, but I don't know if I've ever really looked at his stuff. I've heard of him through that guy, but not in a while. So that rang a bell.
He's probably the most famous of the abductees, and there are some odd things connected to him specifically. And it may be all coincidental and everything, but like, for example, huh?
Oh, I was just saying the dog's fine to Christina. We thought he was snoring. If you hear snoring, let me know. Okay. From the dog.
Should he not snore? I mean,
we move him out of the room because sometimes he's done it next to me when a guest is on, and I just don't want to be rude. But he's okay. He's not loud. Yeah, he's very loud, but
very, very loud.
Anywhere, I mean, I guess they have like some respiratory stuff that makes it weirder. But go ahead, I'm listening. I want to hear more about him for sure.
Yeah, well, what's interesting, I mean, George Adamski is most known for, he was the one who he took some famous photos that other people identified as hubcaps, and he claimed that he was communicating with people from Venus, basically. But what is interesting about Adamski is that he, just because of who he was, he became associated with a lot of other people in the early sort of contactee UFO community in the mid 50s.
Yeah.
And in early 60s. And so he knew a lot of people, and he knew a lot of other contactees. Like, he knew Howard Menger, and he knew Desmond Leslie, and he knew a lot of them. And what is interesting about him are some of the things that sort of happened after him. Like, for example, there's a thing called the Skoriton mystery or Skoriton incident, that apparently at least according to the timeline, the day after Adamski died, which I think was like in 1965, I think that's when it was. He died in April at some point in 1965. The next day in England, in a place called South Devon, there was a guy, and I've seen him both at his name as Ernest Bryant or Arthur Bryant. Maybe he had both names, I don't know. But he claims that, and he was just sort of the simple guy, not anybody in particular, but according to him, He was just out walking, and he had a UFO experience in which a UFO landed, and somebody got out of the UFO. There were like 4 youths, like young men, that got out of the UFO, and they looked mostly human, although they had apparently some differences. And one of them came over to him and introduced himself as Yamsky, and then proceeded to tell him a bunch of stuff that seemed to have coded references, for people who are aware of the contactee community at the time, seemed to have coded references to Desmond Leslie and to the Mantell incident and to a whole bunch of other things. But Bryant, the guy who is being spoken to, didn't know about any of this. He didn't know who George Adamski was. He didn't know that George Adamski had died. He didn't know anything about any of that. And he ended up having like a couple more experiences with whatever this was. And these events the story was investigated by somebody, an Eileen Buckle or somebody like in the mid 1970s. And they were able to find like some evidence that a UFO had been seen not only by Bryant, but by other people who were in the area at the time. But of course, who knows what that means? What does it mean that, George Adamski dies, and then the next day after he dies, some dude who's calling himself Yamsky contacts this other dude in England, right?
Yep.
And that, I mean, how weird is that? But
Right.
then a few years later, there's this other weird thing that happens. I mean, to me, when I read the score about the Scorenton mystery, it seemed to me like a psyops operation. You know what I mean? It's like, this just is just too weird. But then in 1980, there was this weird case of a guy named Zygmunt Adamski, who was, to our knowledge, not related to George at all, who and he also lived in the UK. He lived in Yorkshire, in West Yorkshire, and he disappeared like unexpectedly. And I think he was gone for like 10, this was in 1980, and he was gone for like 10 days. And when he was found on top of, in broad daylight, in the middle of the day, he was found lying on top of a 10 feet tall pile of coal inside a building. And what was weird is that people had gone in and out of that building all day. It was like in an industrial site. So it wasn't like it was in an isolated place. There were people going in and out of that building all day. And somehow at one point, with only about 30 minutes to spare, somebody got him up and managed to put him on top, his dead body, on top of this pile of coal for no reason. And he had disappeared. He'd been gone for 10 days or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was not a mark on him. And there was not a mark on him. He had obviously eaten, and everything in the interim. He had been shaved. He had so he didn't have any beard growth. He had a different set of clothes on than the clothes that he'd been disappeared. I mean, it was bizarre. And so the whole incident was investigated by this policeman named Alan Godfrey, who was trying to figure out like what happened, to this guy. And they could never figure out, like, the only thing they could determine is that he appeared to have some kind of a heart incident, and that is what had killed him.
Yeah.
But he was also in good health. So they couldn't figure out. So it was like, even though he had to have some kind of heart incident, it wasn't clear like what had brought it on. It was just weird. But what was even stranger was that Alan Godfrey, about 6 months after this incident that he was investigating, he was still investigating, he was involved in a bizarre UFO incident. And that completely changed his life, and that he tried to tell people about, but nobody would believe him. So it's kind of like, whoever George Adamski is, there's all this other weird crap that, I mean, how many people do you know are named Adamski, and why would they be there's no obvious connection of any of this. You know what I mean? So it could just be us trying to create patterns where none exists. But all of these stories are weird, and they all involve UFOs in some way.
Was Yamsky kind of Indra Coldish? That's what I thought of when you first said.
Well, that's probably what some people would argue. He didn't, based on the descriptions that I saw, or that I read, he didn't look like Indrid Cold, how Indrid Cold was described by Derenberger.
Yeah.
But he also, I guess, some of his, when Derenberger first talked about Indrid Cold seemed to be kind of friendly, maybe a little talkative. And I guess Yamsky was a little bit like that too,
Yeah.
So I suppose that would be one argument, that this was Indrid Cold, but who the hell is that? I mean, I know that Andy has opinions about who Indrid Cold is, but I don't know.
It seemed like a spook, like a Men in Black kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nobody knows really what it was.
That's what it means. That's what I mean. It seems like, it's like when I was reading about the Scorenton mystery, as connected to this book, this Omens of Awareness. That's what I thought. I thought, this seems like a psyop to me. What the reason is, I don't have any clue. I don't have any idea at all. But that's what it seems like. It's like, for some reason, people are picking on this poor Mr. Bryant because he's kind of a simple guy.
Definitely.
I have no idea why this crap happens.
Yeah, it's definitely weird.
It's very, very strange.
Weird.
So like, I've read that book, and I've been reading. I got several books. I've been reading. Oh, come here. This one about. It's about devil stories in England. It's like a folklore book, and it's called Cloven Country: The Devil and the English Landscape. And it's just stories. Basically, what it does is it's kind of interesting. It goes through different parts of England. I think mostly it's like northern England. And what it does is it's almost like it's taking you on a little like tour of England, like it has like a map. And so, and as it's taking you through the map and taking you through these different little towns, it's recording the folklore of all the towns, like in this village, this happened. And on this crossroads, this happened. And this pile of stones is connected to this story. It's kind of interesting.
Sounds like it.
I mean, I mean, when you think about it, it's like, the people who just live there all the time, a lot of these people would know these stories, so that like they're constantly just sort of moving through a landscape that's kind of magical and scary.
Yeah.
And creepy, So it's interesting.
Definitely trippy. I saved it on Amazon.
Oh, the Cloven Country by Jeremy Hart. It's fun. It's easy to read. The stories are kind of fun, I mean, it's very English, how that is, but that's okay. there's something about England that I don't find scary. I don't know why. I haven't been there, but Um, and there was by the way, since you like this, just yesterday, I don't know if you're familiar with this YouTube channel, but there's a YouTube channel called Bedtime Stories,
Okay.
and they do, it's semi-weekly offerings. It's usually more like every 2 weeks, but the last one they did is Shadow of the Wendigo. It just came out yesterday. It's about
Mhm.
25 minutes long, and there are some Wendigo stories. They tell 3 Wendigo stories that I've never heard of. I've never heard, and they're pretty creepy. And one of them is from around where you are.
Huh.
It's from well, it's a little north of you. It's from the Georgia Tennessee border.
Yeah.
But I mean, in other words, it's not in the far north woods. You know what I mean?
I'll have to check it out. It's called Bedtime Stories. I think you told me something about
Yeah,
that one before a while
yeah,
back.
yeah. That's the channel, but the latest offering that they've done is it's called Shadow of the Wendigo.
Okay. I'll check it out. It sounds good. Do you remember what they said about the one here at all? Any of it?
Well, they just describe it. Basically, all they do is they tell stories. They tell stories. And the one that they did last week was it was a demonic Bigfoot, the beast of Bolam Lake. So
Huh.
they've done stuff about the jinn. In fact, the jinn one, which they did 2 weeks ago, that one was good too. They do some really good stories.
Cool.
So I would check them out if I were you. And then there's a connected website, a guy who has done some work with them, you know what I mean, has
Yeah.
given them and it's a kind of a related, they share some of the same producers and the same artists.
Yeah.
But his is this guy, he does, it's called Wartime Stories, and it's stuff that there's stories that soldiers tell about paranormal events, and he some of the stories are really creepy. He's got like, in fact, after this, what I'll do is, I know that the guy who does Wartime Stories, I know that um, he does radio interviews sometimes. So I might give you his info for you to contact him, see if he'd
Yeah.
be willing
Let
to come
me
on,
know.
because a lot of his stories are actually really, really good. But so you've got Wartime Stories and then Bedtime Stories.
Nice.
So you've got some podcasts to listen to for scary, creepy stuff.
Yeah, it sounds good. Better make sure I have it safe still. Oh my God. I knocked the microphone over and then for a split second thought it was my Dr. Pepper. It
Uh-oh.
wasn't. It wasn't. Well, that's good. Bedtime stories
And Wartime Stories.
and wartime. Okay, let me see.
Wartime Stories, yeah.
Okay, I see that one too down here. Is it the same guy that runs
No,
both or different?
no. They're different. They're actually different people, but they have collaborated on stuff, and
Okay.
and so they, um, because Bedtime Stories, they have done, and right now there's a production company called Ballin Studios,
Yeah.
Ballen, and the guy who runs Ballin Studios has his own podcast as well. Um, and he does like unsolved mysteries kinds of stuff. Some of it's paranormal, some of it's true crime, that kind of stuff. But he has sort of become sort of an umbrella under which both of these other podcasts sort of operate. All of them do really good stories, though. They all good. I mean, Mr. Ballin does really good stories too.
Cool.
He's a good storyteller. I mean, if you can, get on his stuff too. But they're all different people.
Let me make sure I have that Ballin guy. I've heard of that dude. I don't know, it may have been from you, but I know I've shared some of his stuff before.
Yeah, his stuff. Yeah, he's a good storyteller. I mean, he does the live story format is what he does. And
Okay. Is he the same guy that does the other ones, the bedtime stories, or different?
No. They have different writers, different narrators.
Cool.
Hold on just a minute. I can get you the name of the guy who does wartime stories. Hold on just a second.
Okay. Well, I don't see the guest at all. I don't know what the hell happened. Maybe he's abducted by aliens. Worst part is I can't change the title. So wonderful. Wonderful. Oh well.
The guy who does wartime stories, his name is Nick Orton, Orton, and he's put together a couple of books of the stories and called Grid Square Volumes 1 and 2, and these are just collections of things that people have sent him. They're sort of organized into like he's got Army tales, Air Force tales, Navy tales, Marine Corps tales, tales from foreign militaries, different arenas, and then he writes and narrates it himself. And then there's the team at Bedtime Stories is a little bigger. I think it's Simon Andrews. I think that's the name of the guy who actually does the writing. I don't think he narrates it. But they, like I said, they share artists. Bedtime Stories has gotten a new artist. It's a woman who does some of their artwork now. And but anyway, no, they're good storytellers. I mean, I really have enjoyed some of the stuff that Bedtime Stories has done recently. They've done some really, really unusual, interesting stories that they've come across.
Yeah. I'll check it out.
Really, really unusual.
Check it out for sure. I haven't heard from him any, so that's a no-show. The worst part is I can't change the title. So that's the worst part. Usually it'll let you. I guess I did it too late. But who's next week? I need to get a hold of her. The Druid show.
What is it? A Druid show? Is that what you said?
Ellen Hopman. She's only doing like an hour. Ellen Everett Hopman, and it's a Celtic Druid tradition book.
Okay.
I think I sent it to you. If not, let me know. I have it somewhere.
Hold on just a second. You probably did. I just have usually I have to be just reminded of their name.
And then the Dracula dude is the next one.
Okay.
But she's only doing an hour, I think. Try to squeeze some more time out of them sometimes if it's going real good. Just squeeze them like a lemon. And that's what happened with the Devil Show guy, the Halloween show. He started talking. It was 2 a.m. in Britain. Next thing you know, he was supposed to only do an hour or so. And next thing you know, he's about doing the whole enchilada.
Whole enchilada. And he was the one, he was the one. Oh, he was the one that was talking about how this is going to make you a witch, and
Yeah, that basically you should go into the initiation of the Dark Lord to be a witch. That you should do it.
you should do it.
Yeah, and basically, they used to burn the witches at the stake for that, but now apparently, I guess they're admitting it. Some
Oh,
of them are
God.
letting the Dark Lord. They're openly embracing the Dark Lord.
Openly embracing the Dark Lord.
It's actually well written though. It's called Song of the Dark Man, but it's actually pretty good. You'd probably enjoy it. I know old Whitley was on him trying to tie in aliens to the Dark Man and UFOs and stuff. So he told us about that because I asked the UFO question if there's anything in folklore or anything that tied it to it, and he said Whitley had asked something similar. So he was just on Dreamland or whatever what's called now. I don't even know. But Dara Mason is his name.
Dara Mason. Yeah, I'm looking right at the book right here.
It was a good one though, for sure. Creepy. But basically getting into this figure from the Irish and Scottish and stuff like that point of view. That it was more than the devil. But I don't know. You'd have to hear it or read the book.
The enigmatic devil of folkloric witchcraft and his many forms.
Yeah. Sauron, Lord of Darkness. Some of the Irish stuff was interesting. He told a story that was pretty interesting. Of course, I can't remember it, but he was telling like folklore stories and stuff that were pretty fun. Fun. Yeah, really fun.
Oh, he's done work on the Agori and the Jinn.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to have to look him up. Hold on just a second.
Apparently, he is a photographer that kind of went around doing stuff and made a book maybe or something. Like he's a professional photographer.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I think this is his first book.
Let's see here.
Gin. Yes. We talked about that some. Yeah.
Gin. You're so funny. It's like
Gory. All of them.
You're so funny.
Every single one.
All the dark stuff.
Here's a cool dude. Friendly dude. Had a cool accent.
Yeah. I might have to check him out actually. I'm glad that he didn't bug out. I'm glad that he.
Yeah, that was a good one. And then the other one was good too. The photograph one. I mean the picture one.
Oh yeah. Who she has stuff of she does pictures of demons.
Yep.
Is that what you said?
Show enough. Pictures of demons.
Pictures of demons.
Man. And yeah, it was a good one. They were both good.
Well, see, you're having some good shows, and then some like flakoids, flops, right?
Floppies.
Floppy floppies.
Good old floppy disk. And it happens. It's been that kind of year.
Yeah.
Definitely been that kind of year. That's for sure. We had like 5 cancellations in a row.
That's so strange, though. It's very odd.
It was mostly all of them said family emergency. Just about. I can't even remember.
Well, and then the guy who died. that still freaks me out.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
That still freaks me out because I remember you you contacted me and you were like, this guy was going to come on and talk about life after death, and he like died. It's like
He croaked.
he croaked. It's like, oh my god.
Not very good luck. His son may be coming on, but I haven't heard anything else. They sent me his last book was called Lost Treasures. Jim Willis, check out the book Lost Treasures. That was the last book.
Was that the book you guys were going to talk about?
Yeah, no, the book we were going to talk about was Afterlife, but his son was going to talk about the new book, Lost Treasures, that his dad wrote, the last one that he wrote. The dude that croak's last book was Lost Treasures, but the one he was coming on for was the Afterlife one. The book just came out after he died. The Lost Treasures one. Who knows? There might be some Indiana Jones stuff in there. I haven't really looked at it yet. It's Visible Ink Press, and then they also sent some creepy book about mothers killing their children or something about like true crime. I didn't even want to look at that one.
Oh, that sucks.
I know, it's like a whole book about that, like like crazy.
Why do I want to read a book about that?
I know, if you want to be sick.
Some things we should not talk that much about.
No, the whole book is just like a true crime thing. I don't really like that kind of stuff that much. Not a whole lot. Trying to think. Yeah, hopefully we can get some Vlad the Impaler secrets from Delgado. Very strange. This dude just like says he'll be here and then it's not.
It's very odd.
He was like thanking me and stuff. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for not showing up.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very weird.
So what'd you do for the All Hallows Eve?
Oh, we didn't do much. We didn't have, there weren't kids really around. So we had some friends over, and they did like kind of a little magical circle thing. And I mostly kind of sat around and ate some food and I did a little bit of a new moon thing. And then I had to get ready to go to work today. So I couldn't stay up late. So
yeah,
I have to be in bed by 9:30 or something. So that's all I did. I mean, I didn't do much.
It went by fast. You're like, oh, well, that's it. Oh,
well, yeah, it's, but life is going by fast these days.
Yeah, sure is.
I mean, even even the election's going to go by fast. It's like, the lead up to it is probably more, I don't know if it's going to be more stressful than the actual day, but, leading up to it is, and then it'll happen, and then whatever happens will happen, and then whatever happens after that will happen, and we're just gonna have to keep going.
Just feels stressful.
It is. It's extremely stressful.
Freaking Trumpelgooch.
I will be grateful when I never have to hear his voice again.
Yeah, he is annoying. I don't understand how people like listen to him all the time and like it.
Yeah, I don't. I don't. I mean, I'm not real fond of like Harris's voice. She's kind of shrill to me, so it's I don't really care to listen to her either.
Yeah,
but at least she doesn't make me to like tear my own head off rather than listen to something,
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll find out. Hopefully, no nuclear, thermonuclear briefcases.
Well, yeah, I like I said, I get the feeling something else is going to happen too, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's just on so many different levels to look at it. And then you got to, if he loses, who are some of these nuts going to go nuts, and get
Well,
violent?
right, exactly. It's like
Homegrown terrorism. That would be my concerns, homegrown terrorism afterwards if he loses. Or shootings and stuff, stupid stuff like that. Spree killers.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
always
like it's like today, this was yesterday. There are these little incidences that are happening. Like there was an incident at a polling station in South Carolina who involving an apparent Trump supporter who berated a group of black female poll workers. And basically, he was wearing a pro-Trump cap when he was told he could not wear the political paraphernalia inside because you can't. He started cursing at them and calling them fucking bitches. Oh, sorry. I used the F word. Sorry. And
usually
yeah.
Usually it catches it.
Okay. And so now they have to do an investigation on it. And so they don't let him vote until he takes his hat off.
What are they calling him? Dark Trump now, like dark MAGA. That's their new word. He's gone dark.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but that's what they're saying in the headlines. Dark MAGA, dark Trump, like Darth Trump.
So Elon Musk. Oh, so now they have black hats.
I guess so. I didn't know about that.
So watch Elon Musk introduce himself as Dark Gothic MAGA. This was when he did Madison Square Garden. Elon Musk is such a waste of human flesh.
Oh my Lord. Oh my gosh. Darth Trump. Watch out for Darth Trump.
Watch out for Dark Trump.
That's a weird thing where he references Hannibal Lecter a lot now.
Yeah, I know. It's so strange.
Something about eating, like an immigrant will come over and eat you or something weird or something.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
Well, apparently I was just going to say, apparently the story for that Silence of the Lambs, there's a little intro to Silence of the Lambs that tells it, and it's about some gay Mexican dude ate his lover. That's what the whole story came from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Hannibal Lecter whole thing is based on some dude eating his lover.
Oh, well, yummy.
Well, Trump's like, evoking Hannibal Lecter all the time.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Weird.
It's like some kind of weird, wretched magic.
It probably is.
It's just bizarre.
It's like Trump Tower is address 666. How did they do that on purpose? I mean, that's kind of weird. In New York, it's 666. That's the address. That is the address. Very strange.
No, actually, it's not. It's 725 West Fifth Avenue.
Then what is the picture I've seen? Hold on, it might be in a different place. 666
Yeah,
Trump Tower.
it's a mixed use condominium skyscraper at 721 to 725 Fifth Avenue in the Midtown Manhattan neighborhood of New York.
It said Trump formerly owned that family property and he sold it.
Well, maybe he did. I mean, that's probably true.
Yeah, there's, I don't know, Jerusalem Post. Trump formerly owned property. I thought it was Trump Tower's address. It's not. It was something else apparently, like you were saying. But I just saw that when I looked it up. He used to own it. The little jerk. He's the devil. He had to get rid of it. Didn't want anyone to know. Got rid of it. He wanted to know. But wouldn't surprise me if he does weird occult stuff.
Well, I know that he does some version of of positive thinking, a, a technique that he learned from Norman Vincent Peale, who apparently was a friend of his father's.
Yeah.
But there are lots of different ways of using that. It's I mean, he uses it as a kind of mind control, not only for himself but for other people. And there are some very specific techniques with it. It's similar to silva mind control for people who know about that, or neuro-linguistic programming. I guess that's the more kind of formal way of talking about it. But yeah, he does do some stuff. And he has studied propaganda techniques. He is aware of how, what you do is you just tell a lie over and over and over and over again and get as much coverage for it as possible. And eventually what starts happening is especially if you can attach it to like something catchy, like a catchy phrase or something like that.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's like any advertising. Eventually it'll sort of leak into people's minds. Like, for example, when Harris, when she first became the candidate, when Biden first stepped down, she kind of started using the slogan, we won't go back. We won't go back. And that became sort of her slogan for a while. And then I started noticing that on some of the signs that were around, the Trump signs that were around where I live, they had taken what she had said and she was saying, we won't go back. And they had switched that so that their slogan was take it back.
Yeah.
And that's what's called doubling. It's called mirroring. And it's a very effective propaganda technique. It's very effective. Where you take, and he does this all the time. That's part of the reason why I've always believed that that there was some cheating that happened at the local level in the 2016 election, because there were some irregularities that popped up on election night. And I'm not the only one who noticed them. Jill Stein noticed them. Too late, Hillary Clinton's team noticed them, but they were noticed by other people, but they were never investigated. And what was interesting to me was that even though he won, he accused Hillary of cheating.
Mm-hmm.
And so because he always accuses people of doing things that he has done. And he did that like 2 days later, even after she had, acknowledged his victory. I mean, she went on to win the popular vote, but he was doing that before they knew what the popular vote was.
Yeah.
And so that told me that he had cheated. There had been cheating done at the local level. And because it's kind of weird. It's like by accusing other people, you're kind of in a weird reverse way. He's kind of bragging about what he did by accusing other people of doing that. And it's very effective because it's a diversion technique. It's what mirroring is. And so whenever he accuses anybody of anything, you can make sure that he's done it.
It's what he does.
It's what he does.
Okay. Man, I keep knocking this mic over. But and then I freak out thinking it's my drink, and my drink's not even near me. But I guess we'll see.
We'll see. By this time next week, we'll be in it.
Yeah, I've already voted by mail. And it was not for him. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. He's a dickhead. I don't even really like her that much. I don't hate her or anything, but
I'm not a fan.
Don't feel anything. Nothing. But I just don't. He just seems like an idiot. As far as he just. I mean, there's stories of his staff. He asked them to do stuff, and then it's so crazy that they just tell him they did it, and he believes it.
Right.
Just don't really want that in there. I don't think it's safe.
Right.
So,
right. No,
for sure. It's crazy. Crazy for sure. But anywho, we got about 4 minutes. And this is United Public Radio 107.7 FM New Orleans. Excuse the title. I tried to change the title to Chaos is the Trickster's Gold. Wouldn't work. It's something I came up with, but it wouldn't let me do it. So I guess he gets free advertising, but hopefully he doesn't have an emergency or something. But man, I just feel tired and hungry.
Well, go eat something other than Reese's.
And other than banana pudding.
Other than banana pudding. Eat something with protein in it.
Yeah.
Eat some food. Some food.
Eat some nachos with meat.
With meat and cheese.
Yeah. Some cow. But thanks everybody for listening. Thanks, Wham, and we'll see you next Friday. Hope you survive election time, the Trumpelgooch Civil War.
We'll do something.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.